So welcome to the first of what might be several conversations on how do we change our thinking around long format meetings. It's kind of my title. And my name is Ruth Milligan. I am the founder of Articulation, a local training and coaching practice here in Columbus. Thank you, all of you, for raising your hand on LinkedIn to join. Before I turn this over to La and let her introduce herself, I just want to say that I'm grateful again for everyone to be here. And on the last call that Chris Anderson tried to host with Priya Parker, which didn't work out, it's kind of interesting, their tech doesn't work. Priya made a plea, and I thought I'd just start here because we're going to kick off the next part of the meeting with La, that you always, that you never make an assumption that the purpose of your meeting or gathering is obvious. Never assume why we're together. And the second question is, what's the real need in the community now? And I wanted everyone to introduce themselves because I think the need is obvious. But what we're trying to do here is knowledge share with those that have been through it in the last days or week, and some thinking that I've been doing and hopefully helping you guys to spark. Not that I have any answers, by the way, but as a host of TEDx and a host of trainings and somebody who's been doing a lot of virtual work in the last few years, hopefully you can take away a few tidbits that we've been learning as we're real time trying to reinvent ourselves too. So with that, I think I'm gonna let La introduce herself. LaChandra is another close friend here in Columbus. And then after she introduces herself, I'm gonna tee you up with a question. So go ahead and give us your 2 seconds, and then we'll get into your content there, La.
All right, 2 seconds. What's up?
Okay. No, you get more than that.
Okay, a little few more than that? Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is LaChandra Baker. Everyone calls me La. I'm a senior manager of employee engagement at Cover My Meds, a company here in Columbus, Ohio. And I've known Ruth for a really long time, been involved in the TEDx community for a long time. And so just admire her and her tenacity and her leadership. So anytime she says, can you do? And I'll say yes. She doesn't even finish the sentence. She just says, can you? And I say yes. So I am here to support all of you in whatever you need.
So LaChandra posted on LinkedIn the day after I posted the note that all of you guys raised your hand about, that she had just finished transitioning exactly what we were talking about. And so without spoiling it, what I want La to do is tell us the context of what this meeting is that's recurring, and walk us through what you did to make it successful. And then I'm going to have a few follow-ups for you. So we'll just do a little Q&A here, and then we'll pass it to everyone for questions, and then we'll keep going. I've got one other person I want to make sure we hear from. So go ahead, La, tell us what you had to do in the last 7 days.
Sure. We had to onboard 28 new hires to our organization, all virtually, because the quarantine started literally 2 weeks before they were supposed to start work. So this is something that is really important to us because we create an experience when they come into our building. I don't know how many of you know a lot about Cover My Meds, but our very fun, high energy, high workforce kind of environment is very fun and engaging, and people love to be in our buildings. We give people like amazing lunches. We give them all this fun stuff. And so now we're telling them, sorry, you can't come, but we're going to onboard you online. In your own home. So that was kind of weird for everyone. Just kind of, even for us, we were like, ooh, wow, how can we do this? Because one of the things we really want people to feel is that sense of belonging as soon as you walk through our doors, and that you are a part of our culture and that you are feeling the fun of our culture. And so without being in the building, that was going to be a new task for us, is can we do it online and make people feel like they made the right choice to come to our organization, and they feel the same kind of thing that people felt, coming into the doors. So it was a big task. And our general orientation is 2.5 days in the building. So we had to create a 2.5 day virtual onboarding orientation for our teams. So that's what we did this past Monday through Wednesday, first time.
So La, I'm going to sort of prompt you to say that probably there was what I call the content that's like you know, in some respects, it's paying the bills, stuff that you have to transfer, benefits, HR information, how to use the laptops. You sent by the way, you shipped them a kit, or you
Yes.
got them all a kit of their laptops and technology
Yes.
that they needed. Talk to us just about how you did that really quick.
Sure. Yeah. So I partnered with our shared technology team, and we sent everyone laptop, mouse pad, chargers. Some people got monitors, headsets. Like, we just literally have an itinerary based on your role, what you get. And so last Monday the 17th, we were in the office and shipping out 28 boxes of materials to everyone's home. So everyone via FedEx, so standard overnight, so people can make sure they got it in enough time that they would be ready for the following Monday to start. You know, based on just employment law and in our company rules, they couldn't get their credentials to sign on until the Monday they started. So we had to make sure we had correct personal email addresses and information for them so that they could get sent the credentials Monday morning before they started with our call, which was we use Blue Jeans video chat. So I sent them all Blue Jeans invitations to start Monday morning, 8:30. And I told them you will get your credentials just shortly before that call so that then they could get their computers logged in and log into Blue Jeans. And the very first meeting we had was with our shared technology to get them up and running and added to our VPN, all of our VDI stuff, and then get them started with their technology.
And I'm going to revisit this notion about technology in a second, because we don't have the technology in our homes to do some of the things we need to do. So that's one bucket. You've got content that's already finished that you just transferred online, but just talk to us a little bit deeper. When you and I spoke, one of the things that really struck me was the notion of how do you transfer your culture from in-person to online? And so tell us how you decided what got transferred and what did you do to express that culture effectively online. Just take a few minutes to go there.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. So like Ruth said, there's a lot of content that's already developed, like, you know, them going through benefits and that kind of thing. But we also do a deeper dive into all of our business units. So they get a little bit of the company information with that. But infused within that are cultural things that make it fun, that they feel connected and engaged. And that starts from the very beginning when we do introductions to everyone. We had a virtual meet and greet where leaders of our company came online and introduced themselves to the team. And that was something that's super important for people. We did something so simple as, what made you want to come to Cover My Meds and be a part of our team? And then a fun question like, what is the coolest vacation you ever went on? And so we went around with everyone talking about their vacations. And what that also does is say, oh, I went to Germany. Oh, somebody says, oh, I went to Germany on my honeymoon. Oh, this. And so then they start automatically making connections to each other and feeling like they belong in this conversation. And so we did that throughout the 2.5 days. I mean, we did one where we did like an MTV version of Cribs. They're like, here's my work from home space. Look at this great desk. This came from my grandmother's house a long time ago. And so it's like that kind of fun thing that get people into your space and make you feel kind of good with that. We did an epic rock, paper, scissors competition that was massive. So two of us split people up. So then she had 28 people. So I had 14, she had 14. And then we broke it down into sets of twos, semifinals down to the final. And then we came back together for the last 2 final rounds, which was super fun and engaging. We did a show us your favorite picture, who's in this picture and why is this picture important to you? We had everything from people's children to their fur babies to their grandparents who had passed away. So we just had that really kind of conversation to kind of connect people. We did another where we did, if you had any item that you were going to bring to your desk at work when you come back to the office, what is that item and what is the importance of it? So people shared that together. And then we did a Kahoots trivia game where everybody could sign up on their smartphones, and I had a Kahoot screen on my screen. And we had everything from Cover My Meds trivia that they'd already heard from the earlier part of the time to pop culture, like rank Taylor Swift's boyfriends from earliest to most recent. I mean, it was just fun stuff like that that got people kind of just laughing and being engaged, that kind of thing. And that is very indicative to our culture, is just like, how do we infuse that fun in the hard work that we do every day?
That's awesome. Thank you for that. Was there anything you did around your values that was different? Meaning, I know you guys are driven, your culture is driven by values. Was there anything specific that you pulled in to the virtual meeting that helped you communicate those values uniquely or differently? We didn't talk about that before, but I presume you did.
Well, the funny part is, so we have a whole presentation about culture and community giving, because that's such a big part of who we are as an organization. And we talked about how our core values were even derived, and were derived from our employees. So we let them know from day one, like, you are a cultural ambassador. You walk through the door, you come online, you are a part of our organization. So how we move as a company is driven by you. So you are now an active part of this. So we tell them that, and then we give them our 5 core values. Be yourself, do the right thing, embrace challenges, results matter, and be selfless. And literally day one, we're embracing challenges. We are now all online, 30 of us talking on this conversation now, and this is new for all of us. So we might make a mistake, and we're gonna learn from it, and that's what we do. We innovate and we go along. And so they knew that from day one. We always just talked about it, and we talked about, them being focused and coming on board, that, we trust them we treat adults like adults, and we trust you to do the thing. If you need help, speak up. There's no bad question, dumb question. If you've never experienced something, you won't know how to do it. So ask the question, seek help, give us feedback. We want to be better for you. And so we just kept instilling that in them from the first day all the way to the end. And that was really powerful for us. And even with our president, he came and had a virtual lunch with us, and he said all questions are on the table. So they asked him both personal and professional questions, and he answered them all. And it was engaging, and it was pure magic. There was a lot of people who said, I've been in companies my whole life, I've never had the president even say hello to me, unless we're to spend 30 minutes with me talking about his personal life. So that was really very cool for us.
So he told his sort of who I am story.
That's right. And they asked him any questions. Like, even he had this beautiful color of a wall paint on the back, and everybody's like, I love that color. What's that color? Can you send us a swatch? Like, what's going on? Like, it was really funny. And he was just super engaging with them. And he's talking about how he loved to cook for his family. And he's a smoker and a barbecuer. He loves to smoke meat. And we threw a challenge down. Somebody said, well, I do brisket. So when you come back to town, let's do a cook off. And we're like, yeah, let's do it. Like, he was totally into it. And so people really loved it. It was such a fun and wonderful way to invite people into our company.
So actually, Acacia asked the question, did the president participating in the virtual, was that different than what he would have done in person?
Yeah, well, the interesting part is because he lives right now in Nashville, Tennessee, and he travels back and forth. He's in the process of moving to Columbus, but there's many times during our orientation that his schedule just doesn't mesh. He can come say hello maybe in the very beginning for the meet and greet, but he doesn't have like 30 minutes dedicated time to be with us. And so this was the first time he could actually do it. And he loved it so much, and we loved it so much, we went to his executive assistant. We're like, put it on the calendar now. This is what we're doing. Cover it. It's like, protect it. Like, this is what we're doing. And he was totally down with it. Even in his message today to the team, he says, I'm going to make good on my barbecue. I promise. He actually said that to the whole staff today. So we had to hold it to him. So that's pretty great.
So La, if you would be so kind, there's a few that would love the list. I've made a list. You whipped through them, but maybe we'll send you what we heard and you can add back, and we'll forward that to the group. So yeah, there were some terrific ones on that. So thank you. That was really energizing and some really great ideas. I mean, we're here to figure it out. I'm just going to transition for a quick second and ask anyone, do they have any questions for La first before I go to another, just to transition to Q&A. That's what I wanted to say. So I think there's enough of us that you can just unmute yourself and talk if there's anyone that wants to ask a question.
Let's see, am I talking? Oh yeah, okay, can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. When they asked questions of the president, were they speaking or were they doing that in the chat box and then answering them?
No, they were just speaking to him. I said, who has a question? And someone says, oh, I have a question. And they'll say whatever. And he'll say, oh, Travis, what team are you going to be working on? And so he engaged right back with them before he even answered. He's like, oh, well, welcome to the team. And then he'll answer whatever question. So yeah, it was live, not chat. Just them asking questions. He hear their voices and they're hear his. So it's pretty cool.
That's great.
I have a this is go ahead.
We have the 100 CEOs in one room or virtual room. and sending them a kit beforehand with I'm thinking like a ping pong paddle with green and red so that they can vote virtually. That's a great idea for the kit ahead of time. So thanks, La. We'll definitely use that tip.
Of course, sure, absolutely.
So I'm just gonna, Gregor, go ahead. Was that you that wanted to ask a question?
Yeah, just a real quick one. So we saw Chris Anderson struggle with the technology side, and I'm just wondering if Law did a trial run or two, and how did you troubleshoot and work the kinks out, knowing that something that important would work right the first time?
Yeah, so well, the cool thing is we use Blue Jeans for our all staff meeting, and that's like all 1,400 people. So we've used this on small scales and large scales in the past. So we kind of know what works. The delay, we know there's a certain amount of a delay in like sometimes hearing the words, like your mouth is still moving and the words are still coming. So that the only difficult part with that was honestly the rock, paper, scissors thing, because we had to see people doing it. And that was the only part. Everything else flowed really well. And all of the presentations that we did, we sent PDF versions of them to everyone so that they have them for resources to look back on afterwards. So they were live action, asking questions real time, and then they had the materials later to be able to refer back to.
La, I have a question for you. In my experience with which I haven't done a ton of virtual training, but one of the difficulties that I encounter is creating that environment where people will feel really comfortable jumping in at any moment. Like everyone's trying to be polite, Midwest polite, right? I'm not going to step on anyone's toes. Yeah. So I'm wondering how maybe at the beginning, what you guys did to set up that environment and make the audience really understand that that was the expectation for the event.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of me because I'm very high energy, if you can't already tell on this call. So I always say I throw my vulnerability out first, and I talk to people and I create that safe space because I think it's super important to have the right facilitator doing these things, because it is so important to create that environment that you want people to jump into. And then initially we started with making sure we wanted to make sure all voices were heard. So for certain things, I went by a list. So I said, I want to make sure everyone's heard and we won't miss anybody. So I'm going to go through this list this way. So I went through it first way, just alphabetical order, make sure we hit everybody. Then I started switching it up so people wouldn't be like, oh, I'm always going to go first, or I'm always going to go last. I'm like, no, you're not. I'm going to switch it up. Because even though when you're going through lists, people still need to have some unpredictability to know how to respond to it. So I throw that in there too. So that's just me. I'm out there and I do that. But people just started, after you started speaking, you heard people speak and people kind of affirmed them of what they said, they felt more and more comfortable in saying stuff. And I think that's the environment. Like I'm always trying to encourage people after they say something to make them feel like they did good and what they said was important and that kind of thing. Then they build that confidence to be able to speak more freely as they go along.
Great.
Oh, sorry.
One more question, then I'm going to shift gears to a different topic. Keep going. Okay. Go ahead. Who's up?
This is Rita.
Rita.
Yeah, so I'm very curious. I often think that meetings start before the meeting. And so you talked about sending technology out, but was there anything else that you sent in advance that sparked that fun or created those cultural connections, or the things that you really wanted people to be thinking about or feeling?
Yes. So initially I sent them an introduction email just telling them, hey, we're going to do this virtually. This is our first time. We're going to learn together. Here's the things you need to know for day one, and I'll be following up with you. But then I also, which was different than I do for our normal class, I wrote handwritten notes to all 28 of those people. And then I put in my favorite stickers that we have a big sticker culture at Cover My Med. So I put in a bunch of stickers in the envelopes. And so I mailed them all personal letters from me that was saying, I'm so excited that you chose to bring your talents and treasures to Cover My Meds, and I can't wait to meet you. And that was something that was different, but I wanted it to be distinctive for them to feel like, even though they're not in the building, that they are important and special. And I wanted to personally tell them that. And so that was really well received, really well received.